Welcome back to NJCDC's The Loft. I'm Mr. Zanir from Compete for Life.
Hi, I'm Miss Vintage. I'm a YDS also at Compete for Life.
Hey, I'm Xavier Harrington from Compete for Life.
So today's podcast is going to be about Black History Month. Do you know a lot on the subject?
Not a lot, but I do know that that black people used to be discriminated against back then.
Do you know the importance of Black History Month?
Yeah, a lot of black people has done great things for people in this country.
Can you name a few that you remember, like being taught?
I might not remember a few.
Do you know like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks?
Martin Luther King, yeah.
So, in my own words, Black History Month to me is basically when they take all the accomplishments that the black people before us took so that we could have like equality today, like Martin Luther King with his I Have a Dream speech, Rosa Parks with her I'm Not Getting Up. Like things like that, like it shines the light on what they did throughout history and the steps they took to make it that everyone is equal.
Do you feel like Black History Month is enough? Having a month dedicated to congratulating the leaders that did what they had to do for Black people to be equal or as equal as the world has become, do you think it's enough?
I feel as though yes and no. Like yes, to the point that black people got something. It might not be much, but it's a month. But no, on the other hand, because I feel like a month isn't enough time to educate on the not so famous black people that did things in history. Like, and I feel like when it comes to Black History Month, that's the only people that we focus on.
Right.
When like there's more that took different steps or more dangerous steps because we have a month, but it's like even within that month, it's still like not like the month is praised on, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, it's Black History Month, but that don't change the problems that still happen with black people within that month.
Right.
I was gonna say that that Black History Month is to remind people that of all the great things that black people done and to tell people about their history, what happened, and that made people who they are right now.
Right. I asked the question because it's so controversial because they say February is the shortest month out of all the months and they gave that to the Black history. And also about how schools you don't really learn about Martin Luther King unless it's February or Malcolm X unless it's during the Black History Month time where they should be talked about all year round because it's more than just Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and Rosa Parks to have done things.
Like even with them, like you said, February is the shortest month, but it's like I just focus on like they talk about the most popular things they did. Like
Right, they don't cover everything that
like
they
Martin
did.
did more speeches, but the most known speech is the I
Yeah.
Have a Dream speech.
Martin has definitely
Like
done more speeches, sit-ins. They don't really talk about
him and Malcolm
and
X coming together.
right the sit-ins that Martin did with the Freedom Riders, which was a lot of college students that went around. Savion, do you know who the Freedom Riders are?
Not really.
There were a bunch of African American college students that went around, and during those times, Black people couldn't be served at certain restaurants, or we had to sit in the back, or we were allowed to work there but not be served. So they went around and sat in the building until they were served. And normally it would end in maybe them getting harassed or beat on by the police or locked up. And yeah, so Martin did a lot of things like that. He actually collaborated with a couple of them to do that. That brings up my next question: that do you think in school the teachings of Black History Month gets repetitive because people are unknowledgeable, or because it's just protocol to do Black History Month during February?
I would say protocol.
Oh, and what you told me before you said this now, I actually saw a video based on black people not being able to get served at a restaurant on this channel. What would you do? Like three teenagers, I think, black teenagers wanted to go to this restaurant, but I heard somebody say they can't serve them.
So how would you feel if you were in a position like that where somebody didn't want to serve you or was unnice to you or didn't like you just because you were like the color of your skin?
I would definitely be uncomfortable and I would be upset because why are you doing that? There's no reason for that. And there's no
Right.
need for that.
Your skin shouldn't be weaponized. It should be based on the characteristics of the person
Yeah.
and the personality.
Hmm.
True.
Now,
What do you think?
about the unknowledgeable or
Or like protocol?
it gives very much protocol because I would say protocol because it gets repetitive. Like even if you're in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, high school, they still teach you about the same things.
And I feel like, well, like you said, like the protocol and like what them teach you with the grade, like I feel
Hmm.
like you're in a different grade, but you're learning the same thing about the same person. Like
Yeah, and it's like they've done more. They don't really touch on like
Emmett Till.
right or like Fred Hampton or the Black Panthers. They don't really touch on the Freedom Riders too much. Um,
Because I think a lot of people, I feel like they don't touch on it because
Malcolm
they're
X.
themselves aren't as knowledged in it. Like I feel like
Right.
when you're a teacher, because you teach the same thing so long, like you know that.
Hmm.
But it's different when like you go out and you do your own research. Like
Right. Because a lot of things from me being knowledgeable about the topic is me going home and doing my own research. And I had a history teacher that taught Black history all year round when I was in like 6th, 7th, 8th grade. So February was just like another month to him. He used to teach Black History Month,
all year
January,
round.
all year round. So he taught so much Black history that I don't remember learning regular history. I don't think he taught us about like the Boston Tea Party, things like that. We only really learned the Black history. So I don't know if it was like a gift or a curse because when I got to high school, I didn't know who Martin Luther was, but I knew who Martin Luther King was.
Exactly. Yeah, my knowledge came from like you said, like looking at myself. Like I've had Black history teachers, but they never really dove into Black history.
I have another question for you guys. If can you name one or two people that is in Black history that you yourself look up to?
Not really. But I do like the fact that Martin Luther King gave that speech about I had a dream where everyone can be treated equal no matter what skin or race you are.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say more so look up, but like two people from history I would like to meet.
Mm-hmm.
Emmett Till would be one, and Malcolm X. I would say Emmett Till because he was the first, like, the first Black person I learned about who wasn't from school. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
actually seen that myself. And what he went through, like him getting killed off of a lie just for the lady to come out years later, is like once that happened, he's somebody who they should have been teaching about. Like, even though you were a kid, you weren't safe. And then for Malcolm X, it's like I want to meet with him too because I liked the way that he was fighting for his dream, even if it wasn't an aggressive way, the way that
Mm-hmm.
he went about it. But instead, him and Martin together, like being on one of they sit down,
Oh, okay, yeah,
like something like that.
definitely. Is there anybody from Black history you would like to meet?
Yeah, if I had the chance, it would be Martin Luther King.
What's a question you would ask him?
I would ask him what was it like giving those speeches that he gave.
Do you feel like you as yourself could have sat up there and gave a speech to millions of people about like giving hope and uplifting the community? Do you feel like you could have gave a speech like that?
I don't think so, based on me being shy.
But do you think you would have been with the cause of Martin? Like, would you have supported him?
Yeah, I would support him. Definitely.
Who would you like to meet from history?
I would like to meet Harriet Tubman and ooh, I forgot her name, but her name is Shir. I know her first name is Shirley, and I would want to meet Harriet Tubman because I would want to know what parts of South Jersey did she use as the Underground Railroad, and I would ask her what was her feelings when she was like, what made
Going
her
through
want
it.
to get up and be like, I got myself free, but let me go back and free everybody else. Like, what was the mindset of her? Like, did she have that do or die mindset? Like, if I die, I die, whatever. And I would want to meet Shirley because she was the first Black woman to actually um, run for president before Kamala Harris. She didn't win, but she was the first
She
Black.
ran.
Yeah, she ran, and she got a couple of votes too from the Black community, and she's still active today in politics and stuff like that. I think even Kamala Harris brought her out for a speech during her
Like her presidency
presidential run,
run.
or when she was running for president. Now, not to go back, but going back to what you were saying about people being in a restaurant and not being served and things like that. Even back in the day, when they used to ask black people to run for, not run, but go to the army or enlist or do things like that, it was known that they would put them on the front lines because
They would be the ones they would
didn't
rather
care
get
if
rid of
they
first.
died first or not. And even them people, if you had, like, a guy was talking about how he went back home after enlisting and fighting for his country, and they still kicked him out the restaurant with his suit on and everything, and they still kicked him out because of the color of his skin. They didn't care what he did. He didn't care that they fought for the country. People were so wrapped in the mindset of, if you were like, black is bad and white is good. Even today, it's still in things like black is considered bad if like darkness, and they try to compare it to like evilness, like darkness and all that stuff, because of back in the day, their mindset of black people. And white is considered angelic or good, or it's the
Top tier.
right. You
Like
know what I'm
that's
saying?
how you're supposed to. It's portrayed like that's how you're supposed to be.
Right. They correlated to different things because of the mindset that people had back in the day that you can even see now. Okay, I have another question for you guys. If you could go back into a point of black history in time, where would you go? What would you do? How would you go about your day?
I would actually go to the time where I forgot her name, but the person that said she's not getting up.
Rosa
Rosa
Parks.
Parks.
Rosa Parks, yeah.
You would want to go and witness that in person?
Yeah.
Okay. What would you do?
I would probably defend her and help her because there was no reason why a black person shouldn't sit down somewhere.
Where would you go?
Oh, so I would go back. I know it's controversial, but I would go back into slavery times. I would go back into slavery times only because I would want to see what our ancestors went through firsthand. And I think if I had the knowledge that I have today, I would tear something up.
And I completely agree with you on going back to slavery
I'm
time.
tearing it up.
Because if
I'ma
I had the
tell 'em-
knowledge to give them,
I'm gonna tell them about Barack Obama and everything. Kamala, I'm
I'm
spilling the
gonna let them
beans.
know we won.
I'm spilling the beans. I'm gonna be like, it's a man that's gonna be born named Martin Luther King.
And
Well,
he gonna change our lives.
not Martin Luther King, Michael King, and then he gonna change his name to Martin Luther King, and Malcolm X is gonna change our lives.
Let them know what they went through was not unnoticed.
Yes, definitely.
Every wound y'all got, every fight y'all had to fight, it definitely led up to something.
Because there's even people back in the day that probably stuck up to their master or did things that wasn't documented. You know how many things probably happened that wasn't even
that
documented,
we don't know.
right? Or witnessed by somebody to tell a story, or it's from hearsay or things like that. Like, even when I was watching the Book of Negroes, them people were running, they were getting away, going to freedom, but them things couldn't be documented because, during the time back then. They even have speeches on YouTube of people like who were enslaved. I guess I don't know how they got a conversation between two slave people that became free. They were having a conversation. It was on YouTube. And they were saying how different people did different things, that even people that helped Harriet, like the people that opened their home for, the white people that opened their home for the slaves to stay in the bunker, and then people coming and helped them during those times too.
I feel like it's just a whole lot that we don't know, but I feel like we don't know about like our own marriage. Like it's purposely kept from us knowing.
Okay, talking about a point in time, would y'all go back to the March on Washington, where Martin Luther King did this "I Have a Dream" speech?
Yeah, I would.
Would you?
Yeah, I would. How would you feel? Like, what would you do?
I feel like in a situation like that, the best you can do is go and fight for his cause. Even just being there, yeah, it's not like I'm up there giving a speech, but that's another mind who could spread your word, spread what you're fighting for.
And if you were there long enough, you might be able to run into Malcolm X as well.
Run into him as well.
And Martin. They were in a lot of places at the same time that's undocumented. What would you do if you got to witness Martin's speech in person? How would it make you feel?
It'll make me feel shocked and surprised because I never really seen someone give speeches like that. And knowing that he wants peace for for the country and everyone to be treated fairly, that would make me feel proud.
Would it give you hope if you were in that situation?
Yeah, it'll give me hope too.
I have a question for y'all. Who was a person that you know of from history who you haven't learned about in school?
I would say maybe Fred Hampton. He was a part of the Black Panther Party. That was after Martin and Malcolm X were assassinated. People compare him to like being a messiah for the Black community because people saying that was our last hope of somebody doing something for a cause. But he was also eventually assassinated as well.
I don't remember her name at the moment, but just recently I was reading an article about this black girl
Mm-hmm.
who she was like during her time, she had ended up becoming so rich because she was so smart. And I feel like things like that what we should learn in school, like especially the ones who made their own money.
Are you talking about Ruby Bridges?
No, it wasn't Ruby
or
Bridges. It was another girl. I think
Madam CJ Walker?
mm-mm. It wasn't like one. See, that's the thing. It's not a person that like I've heard of before. Like it just randomly
Okay.
popped up, and I was reading it, and it was saying how by the time she was 19, she was a billionaire, so much that the people thought she was white because like she just had that much money.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, dang, like this is something you don't hear about. Like when you hear about it, you hear the I have a dream, but you don't hear about the black people who actually worked their way to the top, like
Mm-hmm.
to make themselves billionaires, like things like that,
Well,
millionaires.
you hear about Madam CJ Walker.
Yeah, but on my side, I haven't heard more about Madam CJ Walker since middle school.
Do you know who Madam CJ Walker is?
Not really.
Controversially, Madam CJ Walker is a woman, a black woman back in the day who was a good salesperson. So she used to sell products for her friend. But her friend didn't want her to sell products because Madam CJ Walker was dark skinned, she was heavy set, and I guess she was the epitome of beauty standards to them. Her friend was light skinned, and this is how you get into like the colorism of black history and things like that, with lighter as being better and darker as being bad or considered ugly. So Madam CJ Walker created her own products and started selling, and then eventually became the first black woman to become a millionaire. And during that time, that was very unheard of or even undreamed of. Like nobody would dream of a black woman becoming the first millionaire or even being able to sell products. Her products is still sold today. They still have a company and everything. The controversial side is they said she stole.
That she stole it from a white woman.
Yeah,
right?
she stole it from her light-skinned friend. She stole the products and then made it her own. So yeah, that's who Madam CJ Walker is. Do you know who Ruby Bridges is?
Ruby Bridges?
Yeah, you ever heard about her?
That name sounds familiar, but not with the person.
So Ruby Bridges was a black girl who went to an all-white school. She was the first one, right?
Yeah.
The first black girl to go to an all-white school. And
Or one of the first.
Well, one of the first, yeah. Basically, every day she attended school, it was like an issue. Like the kids were bullying her. The teachers didn't really want to like teach her, to the point that even like the parents was like terrorizing her mom. And if I'm not mistaken, that's what brought on the Brown versus Board, right? Was it Ruby Bridges?
That's another person. So Ruby Bridges is after Brown versus the Board of Education.
Yeah.
So back in the day, black people and white people went to different schools. Everybody know about separation, segregation. Ruby Bridges was a very intelligent girl, and they felt like she was above and needed to be in because they had better textbooks, better teachers. They taught them more things than they would teach the black students. So they felt like she should belong in the gifted school. So they sent her to a white school. She was in a class by herself. Parents didn't want their students even being near a black girl or interacting with her, touching her, talking to her. She was in a class by herself and she had a white teacher. It was only her and her teacher every day. Before she walked into school, now this is a 7-year-old, this is a little girl.
It's like a child.
A child, the kid. The parents and people would rally outside the school and yell at her.
Spit on her,
yell at
things at her,
wish death on her.
Just mind you, a 7-year-old girl to her face.
Yeah, threatened to poison her, all because
she was black.
She was black going to a white school and was smart. I think at the end, nothing was even fixed.
At the end, yeah, nothing was fixed. Basically, it was just one of those situations where it's like, you're smart and not like we want you to go through this, but we want you to have a good future.
Right. I don't even think anything was fixed at the end, or people learned the lesson, or
Nobody learned the lesson.
anything. It was that basically was the story. Ruby Bridges is still alive to this day too, I believe.
Yeah, she's alive.
Yeah, she's still alive. She gives speeches on her time and her experience going through that. A lot of people even used to criticize her parents for even letting her go through that experience, but her mom felt like she wanted the best for her child, and which rightfully so. And it shouldn't have been, whether it because it boiled down to her skin color and just the color of her skin, and not was she smart enough to be there or anything like that. Her mom wanted her to show other kids, because a lot of other kids after that were able to go to the same school, and then they were all in the same class.
Yeah, basically she fought for a cause.
So like basically what I just heard about the teachers doing all that horrible stuff to her. I don't understand why they would do that to why you would do that to a little kid and say stuff like that to a little kid's face. Like that's
Honestly, they really didn't have an issue with her. It was just because she was black. And I'm not gonna lie, the adults back then were just as belligerent as the kids.
Right,
Like, and
ignorance
even think
crowded
about it. When you're a kid,
intelligence.
racism is not something that you're born with. It's what you're taught.
Hmm.
So if a white kid meets a black kid, they're just gonna do what kids do, play. Like if she was just go there, she would have met the other kids and it would have been playing. But the fact that the parents didn't want her around them, it's like, okay, I'm attacking you. Now my kid's gonna attack you. And of course the teacher's gonna attack you because they already don't want to teach you because you're black.
Right. Even some of the parents were taking their kids out of the schools, and their kids were leaving the parents and going to school because they genuinely didn't care whether the girl was black, white, orange. They just wanted to go hang with their friends and play in school and do what kids do. So even a lot of the younger white kids were talking back to their parents and not following their parents' rules, because, like, again, racism is not something you're born with, it's something you're taught.
Do you have any when it's African American that you look up to? It don't have to be a
Yeah, it
celebrity.
could be
A
anybody,
family
your
member,
mom, your
friend.
I look up to my uncle.
you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why do you look up to your uncle?
Because my uncle has given speeches before, and he said stuff before. He makes he even made his own swear too, called God is a Genius.
Okay, so you look up
Amen.
to him because of his entrepreneur skills, and he has given speeches where.
He gives speeches to me, especially when I was a little kid, about life, parents, stuff like that.
Okay, so he's like a role model for you, like somebody that a mentor, a guide for you.
Mm-hmm.
I would say my grandfather because he came from nothing in the South. Like, especially back in the day. Like you know how the South was.
Right.
So he basically came from nothing from the South and he basically worked his way up from the top. Like he started like everybody else. He came, drove trucks, and then he ended up here.
Mm-hmm.
And here is where he basically got to work. Like out of everybody that I know in my family, he's the first one that I ever known to buy a house. Like
Right.
fresh from one state to another, bought a house. And it's just like things like that he has done showed me like just cause like I'm darker skin doesn't mean like that can hold me back. Like cause even growing up, my family, me being the only boy, it was just like, the first thing is you're a target because you're a black man in America. I'm gonna show you how to move in America. Basically, like don't let them stop you. Like he really showed me like how to fight, but not how to fight with your hands. Like how to fight with words. Like because knowledge is very powerful, and one thing that they've always instilled in me was that the first issue is that you're black, and the second issue is that you're smart. And then to them, when you're black and smart, like they see you as a threat.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, he just showed me like not to be scared. Like I can be a threat, but not in a dangerous way. Like challenge them
Right.
the same way they challenge me.
Right. I do have somebody. I would say my great grandma, because just like you, she comes from the South. My grandmother, mom passed away when she was born. She didn't really know her siblings like that. So at 14, she came to Patterson. She got a job around maybe like 15, like under the table. And by she was like, I would say 20, she owned her first home. And she had kids. My other grandmother owned her first home as well. I never met her personally, but through the story, she was very hard on people, but she wanted people to live up to the expectations she's had for them. And she definitely held family in high regard. She was very family oriented. A lot of my family members are because of her. So I would say she's taught me like what, from looking at like my mom and my grandmom and how other people came out, she taught me what a strong Black woman should look like, how to hold your head high. If you could walk in a room and nobody likes you, still hold your head high, still do what you have to do. Nobody has to like you in the world, but they have to respect you. So I would say I am grateful that she taught me that. Like, everybody doesn't have to like you, but you make them respect you. And that's a different type of power to have. Not power to have, but different type of aura to have.
Yeah. Yeah, because my mom's mom, she did the same thing. Because my mom is not like my grandfather. Like, she's hard body.
Yeah.
Like, so she was really coming to me like, listen, I'm going to keep it real with you. You have to move this way, have to move that way. Like, you have to do things different. You know, like, as a kid, when you hearing that, it's just like, I want to be a kid. Like, you're not thinking, oh, because, you know, I'm darker than other people, that it's a threat. But it's like, it really was a threat.
It's a crazy world we live in.
And the crazy thing is, it's not even evolving.
Right. Nothing really changes. If Martin was to come back and hear about all the Black kids that has gotten murdered by the police, or it would be really like, would he feel like what he did accomplish something? Of course it did. We got farther than we were.
But the fight is still going.
Yeah, the fight is still going, and it still needs a lot of work. Savion, do you have anything to say?
Yeah.
Closing?
Yeah. The fact that hearing, like, as a kid, hearing that people telling them that they're telling them what their race is not a bad thing, but at the same time saying that they're gonna kill you because of that race you are, is kind of terrible. And it is a crazy world that we live in, knowing all the bad things that happen, that people do to each other. It's not right, especially how people who weren't born in America getting deported from where they came from. That's racist. I don't agree with that. They only come here. People from different countries, they only come to America to live a better life. Some of them,
right?
But that doesn't mean you have to kick them out for it, because they're not doing anything or bothering anyone.
Right, and a lot of people who are American weren't originally born on American. Their family originally wasn't born on American soil.
But that's a talk for another day.
African Americans was taken from Africa, put on a boat, sold the dream, the American dream. What was it, 50 acres or 30? 30 acres? 30 acres and a mule, which would have got you far back in the day. And then they were enslaved. Like you say, people come from different countries to get a better life, and then they get treated wrong as well.
Honestly, the best closing remark I got is, as we're in the fact of African American, Black History Month, just knowledge is power, y'all. Like, honestly, the wise words that was told to me, like I said before, they already see that you're a person of color, so you're already a threat. The best thing you could do is prove them wrong. Like, keep striving, be the best y'all are, and keep yourself knowledge.
I would like to leave y'all with a closing remark. I think this is from MLK. He said, "An injustice anywhere is a threat to an injustice everywhere." Meaning that the injustice they were doing to Black people is a threat to the justice that they give to the other folks. Because you can't have equality without everybody being involved.
Like, you can't, push one group away
right,
to make the other one feel safe, when it's like, that's not even coming together. There's still separation with, like, you separating with a bow on it. You're just making it sound nice.
Right.
Because, for example, how y'all going to separate people? What about the kids that's mixed? The families that's mixed?
I might have a closing remark. Before this ends, just know, be yourself. Don't feel ashamed for who you are and what your race is. And just stay true to who you are, and don't let other people tell you otherwise.
Right. And if you see somebody that needs help or is being treated wrong, make sure you stick up for them.
And
support your friends.
Definitely.
Support your friends, your family members, anybody. Speak up. Any word is better than staying silent. And that's all we have for today.
That's a wrap.